Sunday Roundtable, as you can see, is ready to go. And joining us this morning, Democratic political analyst Marianne Marsh and Republican political analyst Rob Gray. Great to see you guys. Thank you. So Steve Kerrigan talked about it this morning right here. So let's get y'all's take on this. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz will ride into the DNC convention in Chicago on a new wave of energy. Walz made a big splash as the VP pick, but this is about Harris. Right? It's about the presidential, the top of the ticket. Can she win over the battleground states, Marianne?
Sure it is. I mean, the Cook Report already moved Nevada, Arizona, and Georgia from lean Republican to toss-up. So she's doing that. When they did polling on their VP picks, the Harris campaign, it showed that she was doing as well or better in Pennsylvania and Arizona and other places where Shapiro was and Kelly and others. So she's well on her way to picking up the 7 battleground states.
Was Tim Walz the correct choice, Rob?
Well, we'll see, and we'll see about Kamala Harris. I mean, she has not been tested yet. She's not been in a debate. She's not given a real interview to the media. If anything, she's hiding out. The race has flipped, as Marianne said, since July 21st when Joe Biden withdrew. But if the race changed that much in 3 weeks, don't we think it can change again in the 3 months between now and Election Day? For sure, it's going to. I don't think Walz is going to have that much impact on the ticket. We're going to see what Harris is made of probably post-convention.
Well, I would just add one thing. Walz was the final piece to the Obama-Biden coalition because Walz brings white working class voters and older voters. That was the last piece. That's how the Democrats won in 2008, 2012, and with Biden and Harris in 2020. So that if you overlay their votes, Walz in Minnesota when he ran for governor and Biden when he ran for president in 2020, they're the same votes.
All right. The Republican ticket also busy. President Trump holding a news conference at Mar-a-Lago last week. Both he and his running mate J.D. Vance calling Harris and Walz liberal extremists. Will those attack points be effective, Rob?
Well, so I agree with what they're saying, but I'm not sure it's the right political strategy. Tim Walz is Bernie Sanders without the crazy hair. No question about it in terms of his policies. But Trump needs to focus on, instead of running against Harris-Walz, he needs to be running against Harris-Biden. And the record that she has as vice president.
Trump has a hard time focusing on policy. He does.
He does. I mean, as much as Harris has been really good in the last 3 weeks, and I agree she's been good, I just don't know if it's going to last, Trump has been really bad.
What do you think, Marianne? Do you think they're liberal extremists, and will that be effective?
Well, the problem for them is they're shedding votes already. They're dropping in the polls. They have nowhere left to go. The only place they can go is to try to get some of those voters back. They've hit their ceiling. That's it. They can't grow more. They can only bring people back that they've lost who park themselves over and undecided now. Meanwhile, you look at the polling, Kamala Harris has picked up numbers left and right, and it's in 7 to 10 days from now, we'll see the effect Walz has had on the ticket.
But the Electoral College is a lot different than national polls and the national vote.
And that's a point you can't let go of. You're absolutely right. Tone is also a big talking point, right? I mean, Democrats are playing up the good vibes. They're painting Trump and Vance as angry. What did Tim Walz call him? Weird. I mean, will this play? How will it play?
You're hearing words like joy being thrown out there. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Trump is the prophet of doom. He has been since he went on the national stage. And now you have the contrast with Kamala Harris as, a happy warrior. That is stark. And we saw that this past week in particular. You had the rallies in Philadelphia, Detroit, Eau Claire, huge crowds, happy, cheering, all that stuff. Then Wednesday, I don't even know what day it was. Thursday, long week. Trump was in the gilded, cage of Mar-a-Lago, gave his press conference, and that is the contrast. That was a gift to the Harris team. And then as soon as he finished, they were in the UAW hall getting the endorsement of UAW workers. That was a gift to the Harris team.
I just warned Democrats that the euphoria they're experiencing right now strikes me as pretty similar to the euphoria that Republicans were experiencing post the June debate where Biden flopped and up until June 21st when he withdrew from the race, where Trump was overconfident then. the chickens are coming home to roost, and Democrats are overconfident now.
Next item. Massachusetts Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley is one of the founding members of the group of progressive D.C. legislators known as the Squad. Last week, Squad member Cori Bush lost a primary race in the state of Missouri after being targeted by a pro-Israel super PAC. Same thing happened to Squad member Jamal Bowman in New York earlier this summer. Millions were used to defeat them. Rob, is there a take, and what is your take on this?
Well, my take is it's a huge, huge loss for Ayanna Pressley, no question about it. But not just her. Elizabeth Warren, Catherine Clark, they went out and campaigned for Cori Bush, her loathsome views on Israel, somebody who's under investigation by the Justice Department for campaign finance violations, somebody who's in favor of $14 trillion in reparations, and they got their hat handed to them.
Marianne?
Both Bush and Bowman neglected their districts and weren't working it as hard as they should have been going into this reelection. And when you look at AIPAC and the others who weighed in with the money, that was the difference in that race.
If Ayanna Pressley had had a primary candidate like them, she'd be in trouble too,
No,
I predict.
not even close.
Not even close.
Not even close.
We continue on the record right after this.